All right, well, I'd like to introduce our speaker lineup for tonight. So we're going to kick things off here in just a moment with JT from Sublime Solutions. And again, our second speaker is Dave McNichol from Dave's Space Cakes, also the president of OREC, Oregonians for Responsible Edibles Coalition, I believe. And then third, Shannon Swantek from Vital Scientific Associates. So we've got a really meaty lineup tonight. And we will have time after each speaker's presentation for a little bit of Q&A. But first I'd like to invite JT. So JT's with Sublime Solutions. This is an OLCC licensed processor of cannabis extracts. And they have one of the most sophisticated facilities in Lane County. It's pretty impressive to behold. JT is also in partnership with the workshop. Now, some of you may remember our guest speaker from last year, Dr. Jeffrey Raber. This is a really incredible partnership between Sublime Solutions and himself. And tonight, JT is going to teach us a little bit about good manufacturing processes and show us exactly what that workflow looks like. So big round of applause for JT.
I just want to follow up on Caleb and what Bethany just said. This is a really important time in terms of the new rules. And so a couple of weeks ago, Roger, Senator Przanski, and a couple of other stakeholders were at our shop. This became quite the issue. We're putting together a bunch of points. Floyd actually asked us to talk to as many stakeholders as possible and to share from our perspectives what we think should happen and to really consider what's going on here, because this could be a huge turning point in terms of Oregon, how Oregon's looked at federally and otherwise. So we're preparing a bunch of notes. We'd like to send them out to whoever wants to consider them. And one of the things that Floyd asked us, he said, a group letter where a whole bunch of people sign on, that's effective and that's nice, but really what he needs to hear to facilitate our voice is that everybody take these things into consideration from their stakeholder perspective and individually get them to him, get them to Jeff Rhodes in the governor's office, get them directly to OLCC. Now is the time, and if we gut these regulations now, it is absolutely the worst thing that could happen here. There is a middle ground in all of this that's going to make it so that we're all safe and that we have literally, which is right now what is considered in a lot of states, and I know because I'm involved with a workshop, all the other recreational states that just came on are looking to Oregon. If we make this misstep now, we go from literally poster child and helping the whole industry nationally to looking like idiots. So consider it. If you would like to see our comments to consider, we have a mailing list here. You can put your email down, and within the next week or so, we'll be putting a draft out for consideration. So thanks to Caleb for being here and letting people know this. And I want to footnote one thing. It's not just the consumers that need to be protected. Some of these things are going on in grow rooms, out in the field, and those workers are getting exposed to these things. I won't go into it. Look up what ethoprophos is. This is one of the things that we are seeing consistently in our pre-screens, and it is a very nasty, very restricted pesticide for any other agricultural use. And you got people exposed on both sides. So really consider it, look at what those rule changes are, talk amongst yourself, get whatever input. And like I said, Floyd was begging us. They don't know the science behind this or what stakeholders are really thinking. They're facilitators for us. And if you don't use them that way, then you may suffer. So I just want to put that in at the front end. So there's a lot of information to cover here in 20 minutes. So I understand that a lot of people here probably have heard and know a lot of some of these things. Hopefully I can connect a few dots for you. What I want to present is what you're looking at as a whole system and why it's really important if you want to be a player when it goes national to grow your business, or to keep it even at a sort of mom and pop level, these practices at any level are worth the time and effort. So I'll just go real quick so you understand a little bit about where I come from. I've worked in 7 major industries, everything from big corporate, defense contractors when I was really young, electronics, public radio, helped set up Lost Valley Center, which most people or some people may know of outside of town, a permaculture center that's really well known. You know, worked in food, Genesis Juice here in town, worked in the big natural products industry with a group that was here in town, and have been asked and been trained in what are really good business practices. I've worked in nonprofits, I've worked in academia, doing scientific studies there. I've worked in the big corporations, worker-owned co-ops. I've seen a lot of the different models and the way people put together their businesses. And I've tried to distill down the best business practices. And like I said, these can be applied on a micro scale. I've helped people come out of their garage and eventually have national products. I've also, in an industry like this, we got to start a little bit bigger, and then, like I said, in some of the other industries. And as they were saying, what Sublime is, I'll give you a little bit of background on us. We're a full-service contract manufacturer and co-packer. We help brands create their lines of products, give them unique products, and the co-packing that goes along with it. We do product development, we do processing, we help process engineer different things for people. We can help our farmer clients to understand their cultivation practices and changes therein. We can provide all kinds of services to all kinds of stakeholders. And our model is that the success of our clients is the most important thing, because if they don't succeed, we don't succeed. Our management practices, I don't manage for the success of my company, and I am the local owner of Sublime Solutions, the whole bit. I manage for the success of each of my individual employees, because if they're succeeding, my business is going to succeed. So we're a full-service, success-based model, both internally and externally. And if you abide by and put these business practices into place, you'll have a culture in your business that's amazing. You'll have the information you need to make the critical decisions as the industry grows. Let's face it, folks, the industry is already becoming commodified. And if you understand what that means, you better be prepared if you want to play. Okay, a couple of years ago, Steve D'Angelo from Harborside made a really great comment that stuck with me. There is a big tide coming in with this industry now being able to be legitimate. And that tide will rise all boats if you don't have holes in the bottom of your boat. Okay, and some of the griping that I've heard, having been in 7 major industries, about some of the regulations and who's doing what out of their self-interest, it's like, come on folks, this is a new world, and it's not that difficult to spend the time to do it right. I want to point out a concept right up front. There's 2 modes of working in your business or on your business. And all of us get caught up in the day-to-day. We have to work in the business and keep things going. We got to get that cash flow going, and that is super important. But if you don't take the time to work on your business, then eventually you're not going to be able to keep up. So you have to budget the time and the resources to do some of these things, because these things, they take a lot of time and attention and detail. So particularly when you're small, you want to get it nailed down and get your plan straight. You get the cornerstones in place early, and then it evolves with your company. And it's not, you're caught behind. And then when the regulator shows up, your records aren't straight, because you've gotten fast and loose, and you've been down in your business working, which is a great thing, but you have to work on your business as you move forward. I'm going to give you one example. East Earth Herb that was here, that I worked for, helped set up their factory in the natural products industry. I was the 20th employee, and they did about $1.25 million. They knew that federal GMP was coming. They took 5 of us, and they put these primers, and I'll give you these references, and they said, put that in place for us, make it as close to pharmaceutical as possible for a natural product. Okay, 4 years later, we had 125 workers, and we were doing 20 million a year. The first 2 years, we were putting these systems in place and designing them. So while that acceleration is happening, we're just trying to put the system in place. It was exciting, it was frustrating, it was lots of 12-hour days, and that kind of thing. If you don't want to have to go through that kind of acceleration and possibly, stumble, you do it early. And you do what you can, the basics, and we'll go over some of those, and you're going to be in a good place, guaranteed. So let me see if I can work. So this is the basics of a full documentation system for processing, but it also, GMP, there's GLPs if you're running a lab or have a lab on site, good lab practices. They're good agricultural practices, and there's many industries that these have already been mandated on. And I'm going to say this now, when this goes national, you can be guaranteed that there are going to be people like at the FDA saying we need to mandate these things to make sure this is a safe industry and that it's high quality. If you're ready now, you can make the transition. So, let's see, pointer. Oh. So, safety and emergency procedures, I think everybody understands. You gotta have them. And in our shop, there's the general for the facility, there's production, and then we do have an analytic lab. And there's a lot of chemicals and stuff, you gotta get things straight. Standard operating procedures, we actually break them into two categories. Our equipment operating procedures, which is basically, how does the piece of equipment work? How do you clean it? What are the maintenance requirements of all that? And then there's the standard operating procedures. These are how do you use that piece of equipment